Welcome back to the Growth Formula. My name is Pulani Potane. Today's episode is quite interesting because we will be talking about the hiring trap. We'll talk about what is it, what is it about, and how to identify these things in the workspace. And I'm joined by Eliah, who will just unpack this topic with us. And I'm happy to have you again, Eliah. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for having me.
All right. Yeah. So usually what they say is that growth, it forces founders to hire, and it usually forces them to hire very fast, right? Under that pressure, what happens is that most businesses, they default to the easiest thing to measure, which is like a skill on paper, your years of experience, a policy CV. But what usually happens is that they quietly deprioritize what's important, like from predicting whether someone will be a great fit for business or not as the business changes, right?
Yeah.
So things like attitude, adaptability, and how to fit with how the team usually works is one of the key things. So this is just a follow-up from episode 6 to say that complexity doesn't just live in processes and systems. It usually lives in people, right? And to say that one wrong hire made under growth pressure can actually just reintroduce problems that we already tried to speak about. So in the last episode, we mentioned we spoke about complexity trap. But I just want to touch base on the hiring trap, right? To say that as a business grows, right, you are forced to hire in a way, right? And that happens urgently. And it usually puts founders in so much pressure. You need to hire someone like now. You can't wait for like a month to find someone who's very perfect. So what's your take on that?
Thank you for that. I think you touched key areas there. And I think the first one is the agency. That's where the problem starts. When you're too fast, I don't think you check all the lights to say this is red, this is green. So you get to this point where you're saying, no, we need something now. Have you first of all, before we get to the hiring part, have you really defined the framework of what they really need to come and do? Let's start there, because I believe that when you're hiring, you need to have a framework first. Have you in this? So when, let me take it one step back. You decide that you need a person now because you are busy, you are growing. There's no engineering. Did you put the framework? What is this person going to do? Let's start there. When they come here, right? So the agents, then you remove that. You kind of overlook that because you kind of rush to say, no, we are busy. Let's get the person now. Then secondly, when you have that speed, in hiring, you don't see the warning signs, and you just compound a problem that you are trying to resolve. Then you get a person who actually probably have the skill but doesn't actually match two key attributes in hiring, which is attitude and adaptability. Because what I mean by that is this: once you hire too quickly, skill is easy to identify. You use a CV. They're right. I do this. I know Excel. I worked on Sage. I prepare financials. I know Canva. All right. It's easy. The other two traits are not so easy. So with speed, you actually overlook those, which is attitude and adaptability. There is no blueprint written to measure those ones to say you can't see the money CV. So when you're hiring too quickly, that's where the problem starts. Because the other two, which are the most critical ones, skill is important, don't get me wrong. But attitude and adaptability, those are the two key pillars, especially in a growing business, that you need to look at. So speed kills you there. You're on the back foot.
Yeah. I think it's when you say it out loud, it sounds a bit obvious, but then why do you think founders usually default to the CV and experience approach when they're looking for like a candidate?
I think it's about having some form of proof, okay? To say this, I did it against this. So it's for to satisfy yourself, so that if things goes wrong, you say, but we check this, we check this, we check this. But so you're kind of giving yourself some kind of comfort zone, if I can put it that way. You're giving yourself some kind of fallback to say, but the CV was good, man. Like I checked that the CV was so, but not forgetting that the other two key attributes, you don't really see them there. And let me tell you something. Hiring great people, it's a great quality of a leader, not a founder, not a manager. There's a massive difference between a leader and a founder and a manager. Massive difference. And let me tell you something. A lot of people, including myself, they struggle with that. It's one area where those two attributes are so difficult to actually encompass. But acknowledging that they're difficult, I think for me, is the beginning of learning on how to deal with them. Because if you look at a CV of a person, it will be very impressive. Wow, this person has done this, they've done this. They tick boxes. A business is not a tick box exercise.
Yeah.
The CV, you look at it like, wow, wow, wow. You say like, this is my person. Oh boy, you are very wrong. That's not your person. Because the other two attributes are key. Let me tell you something about attitude. Where did you get your skill? Before we talk about attitude, where did you get your skill? You learned it.
Yes.
You went to school for that.
Yeah.
Which university is the University of Attitude?
No, there isn't. Yeah.
Which university is the University of Adaptability, where you come back and say, like, I'm holding my degree in attitude. I'm holding my degree in adaptability.
Yeah.
Those things, you don't get taught them. Your skill, which you have, you sit down and learn Excel, right? You sit down and learn how to use Sage. You sit down and how to use DraftWorks. You sit down and all the skills, you'll sit down and learn them. Show me one area where you go and learn your attitude.
There isn't.
It doesn't exist. That's where the problem starts. So when you're hiring too quickly, these are so complex areas, yet they look so, like you said, plain on, they look, no, you know what, it's just a funny one. You can't ask a person in an interview to say, like, describe your attitude.
Yeah.
That's stupid. You can't do that. But this is one key element of an individual that you need to actually be able to do their job great. Skill might be there, but if the attitude is wrong, nothing works. And adaptability. So I was saying to you earlier, let me tell you something about attitude. Is that attitude is what, before I get to this point, let me say this. When an employee is at work, they work alone, right?
Yes.
The manager or the founder is not sitting behind them and say, like, now you're working.
Yeah.
You work alone. That's when attitude comes out. You sit on your desk, right? Doing your work, only one person. There's no another person. That's when attitude actually shows.
Yeah.
So if it's bad when you're behind your desk, you do everything under the sun.
Yeah.
Because attitude is what you will do when nobody's watching. So as a founder, manager, you gotta find ways of actually assessing to see what is the type of attitude this person has got. Because if you don't, you got a person with a great skill, then the attitude is say, you know what, now I want to work 10 minutes in an hour. Right? They'll sit there and look busy behind that computer. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
How do you teach that? Because you, as a founder, the manager, you're busy with your own work. They work 10 minutes. They say, on the 8 hours that I have in a day, yeah, I'm going to do 2. When 4 comes, I'm going home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why it's so key, attitude, because it determines productivity. It's what you do, I call it what you do in the dark. It determines what your attitude is. And that you can't teach, unfortunately. Skill, I can send you to a university. But attitude, I'm sorry, you can't teach that. You cannot. So it's very key for the hiring trip. Is what we do is we run too quickly. We don't look at the attitude to say, what type of attitude that this person has got? Because if their attitude is that I will do as little as possible, you're in trouble. If their attitude is that I want to be the best version that can be, that's a plus. So attitude doesn't mean it's bad. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's bad. But what is the when the circumstances are different, when they're in their own day or their own work environment, what is it that they do? That's attitude. How do they view their work? How do they view their role in the business? You understand? So as an owner or a founder or a manager, you need to be able to find ways of actually identifying these traits. And unfortunately, you've got a window of 30 minutes or an hour to find that. You see?
Yeah.
It makes the job difficult because it's a difficult topic already on its own. Then you've got only this window to identify it.
Yeah. I think that's very insightful, Eliah. And what I'm picking up from what you're saying is basically saying that you can't teach attitude. Like
Yeah.
you can sharpen someone else's skill,
Yeah.
but with attitude, you can't do that because you can't always monitor an employee like you.
No,
Every
you
5
go
minutes,
crazy.
look
No,
at what they're doing.
You go crazy. Like you lose yourself. When do you work?
Yeah.
So your job become monitoring that person.
Yeah.
So why do you need the person anyway? You might as well do what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I just want to go back, right?
Yeah.
We'll just touch base again on attitude.
Yeah.
But I just want to ask you, like, obviously, when hiring, have you ever like encountered a point, or like maybe if you a founder was to ask to say that this is the problem that I had. Say I'm looking at someone else's CV and I'm seeing that all the skills, they're ticking all the skills that are there.
Yeah.
But then you actually realize that it was actually a bad idea to take this person.
100%.
Yeah.
Trust me, I can tell you the story of myself, not someone else.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So the fact that a CV looks great on paper doesn't make a person great. No. So let me tell you my own story. I saw a very great CV. Very good. It looked so great. And there was a pitch. Sounded perfect. But it was all excitement. You know the challenge with excitement? It evaporates. That's then the reality comes through. So skill can be written on paper. Excitement, somebody can deceive you in an interview. Not intentional. I'm not saying people with an intention of deceiving in an interview. They want to get the job. They're excited. They want to show you all this.
Yeah.
But the practicalities of it is that the CV is looking on paper, but the attitude is wrong. The CV is looking on paper, but the person can't adapt. So take, for example, a founder-led business. It's a growing business. There's a lot of dynamism in there. Things are changing constantly. Then in a corporate environment, it's a mature business. So somebody with 20 years of corporate experience, when they come to a founder-led business, they'll crumble. Not because they're bad. They've got experience, they've got the skill. You know what they lack? Adaptability. Why? Because what then happens there is that they're used, let's say it's an IT person, for example. They are used to actually do things in a certain way, structured way. To say, here's the ticket, this is what we do. But what is required of you in a founder-led business is not structured. You are part and parcel of the structuring. You cannot be rigid in a founder-led business. You need to be agile. You need to be moving. So when you, and this is one of the mistakes we made, we make actually is in founder-led businesses. We look for CVs that have got a lot of experience, that have got a lot of skill. But the one thing we know we forget, that skill where this person was working in this corporate environment, everything is structured. In a founder-led business, there is no structure. We make as we go.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So that's the mistake we make. We are looking for this perfection in a CV where this person got so much experience and they've done all these things. But that system existed in that business they are working in. It doesn't exist in this business you are coming in. So you are taking a good person, putting them in the wrong job. It doesn't work. So that's one of the key areas we actually make mistakes. And I'll say mistakes in the sense that we do make these mistakes. And I think the realization that we had made the mistake, I think is a great thing. Because in your founder-led business, you cannot have somebody who is rigid. Because a founder-led business or an entrepreneur kind of business, it needs agility. You can't be stuck in one thing to say, this is how we do it, and this is there. You go to corporate, it's a mature environment. In a founder-led business, you need to look for that agility. Your framework of asking questions needs to be different when you're interviewing for a corporate job and a job in a founder-led business.
Right, yeah, I think you're right by that. But Ella, you just mentioned that obviously when you're interviewing a candidate, you just only have like an hour or 30 minutes. How do you identify these things in that short span of time, you know? Things like attitude, because I can tell you now, a person can have an interview and pretend for that long. I mean, 30 minutes is not that long,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
give you the attitude that you might need and all tick all the boxes. But when it comes to practice, they actually are completely opposite. So is there a way where we can just, you know, identify these things as as a business?
And let me say this to you.
Mm.
You know, humans are the most complicated creatures on earth. You know what?
Yes.
Because
Mm.
you'll be doing your best,
Mm.
but your best will be short. You'll be doing your best, and your best will be short. So one of the things that I learned, right, is that when you do your interview, don't make that decision quickly.
Mm.
That's one of the things I learned. Do you have your interview? I'll come back to the structure that I think helps, right?
Mm.
But give yourself time to relook. Give your mind time to process what you have met, what you've seen, and ask these questions, which I'm gonna actually what do you call it, but bring forward, right? But don't make the decision too quickly. That's what I'm saying.
Mm.
This thing of we're hiring now, we need this person now. Here's one of my policies. If you cannot save a notice in your own job, I don't need you in this business.
Mm.
That's if you can't save notice in the current job which you are in. Okay, what will make me think that you're gonna save notice when you're leaving?
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
look, let me tell you something about humans. Like I told you, they're complex. Humans are the most complex creatures on earth,
Mm.
right? But I believe in pattern and behavior. If you do something, it's likely that you're gonna repeat that.
Mm.
So looking for traits is key. For example, if I'm interviewing a person, they tell me I can start tomorrow, I'm worried.
Mm.
Yes. It's one of the but it's one of those things that we try to help each other to say pick those blind spots, right?
Mm.
But in a founder-led business, I think one of the things that you can bring on is a question structure,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
In a way that look for the agility in a founder-led business, in the sense that maybe ask something like, give me a situation where you changed your mind about a certain decision, like we're doing things in a certain way, but then or then say, then it was changed to say, let's do it this way.
Mm.
What did you do which affected your job? To say, I was having a discussion earlier to say, in a founder-led business, a lot of change happen. It's so quickly. So what you'll be trying to figure out is, let's say the person is already prepared some work,
Mm.
right? Then you decide, no, we're not going ahead with that. Now we've changed. Not because we are changing, not because it's bad, we're changing course, but
Mm.
you have put the effort. Get that right. You have put
Okay.
the effort,
Mm.
but now we're saying we're changing course. How does that make you feel?
Are you? It
Yes,
wasn't like.
I'm
Yes.
saying as a candidate or
Yeah.
as a candidate, you have prepared work.
Mm.
Here it is. You sit down. You spend your hours and hours
Mm.
of preparing. Then we say, no, we're not going to use that. We change course.
Mm.
It's that or we leave it.
Mm.
How does it make you feel as the candidate? If
Yeah.
the reaction of that candidate feels they feel like no, they are wasting my time, then you've got a problem.
Mm.
Because that's the part, that's a founder-led business.
Mm.
Because things change. You don't in a founder-led business, you don't get stuck. If you can be doing business with something now and you decide, no, this doesn't work now, let's move. But in a structured business, so their reaction to that tells you if they actually can adapt,
Mm.
tells you if they actually accept criticism,
Mm.
tells you if they are willing to actually do something, regardless of whether that's going to be useful or not.
Mm.
And that part is key. Because yes, everybody values their work, but if it was valid for the time we thought it was right, we should not be afraid of changing decisions
Mm. Mm.
because somebody has made it done some work.
Mm.
So that one area I think you can utilize. The second one is actually maybe ask them in terms of decision making. So you look at the type of your business and say like, what type of elements are required for their job, right? In their role, to say what is required in terms of them making decisions in what they're doing. And in that, you also look at like innovativeness. Ask them in the line of what is it that you have brought yourself up. But you got to find a clever way of asking these things so that the truth comes out. If you ask a blunt question, somebody will tell you, what do you call it? So you got to find ways to actually see, are they innovative enough? Are they able to come up with ideas? This is for a founder-led business, right? That's what you need. Because in a founder-led business, you are figuring things out. So you need other minds to help you. But if you get a structured person who will say, we're going to do from A to Z, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Then also the other thing that you can look at is ask them to describe their day-to-day job and listen very carefully when they're doing that. And listen very carefully. Because what you see from there is that you would see if they are just rigid. You see if their attitude to work is actually, I can improve, I can add value. That one is very key. And and when you do that, check out, say, the attitude questions. Wait for them later on in your interview when somebody is really relaxed, because your guard, it can be up, like you are guarding your guard like properly. But later on, make the interview so comfortable, right, that the person relaxes. Let them let their guard down, okay?
Yeah.
So that they talk from their true self. And this is, and you are doing this to protect the business, not you. Remember, right? Because if somebody's always having their guard up, then they'll be thinking, what angle are they trying to attack me on? But if you are relaxed, make your interviewee relax, make them feel at home. And then if you have to buy them food, because you will save a business a hell lot of money than that food, okay? Let them talk to you about their day, how they go about. Ask them, and look for traits in when they're doing that. Look for these small traits which are aligning. Well, skill, you would have seen it already on the CV.
Yes.
So what you need to focus on is the attitude and that adaptability, because is the environment change? Are they changing, or they are saying we're stuck here?
I think that's very insightful, and I would agree with you on that. So I just wanted to say, like, from what you're saying, what I'm understanding is like when you are having like things like interviews, right? You should move away from these standardized approach of asking a question of like
Yes.
these questions that are being
Yeah,
asked almost
100%.
everywhere you go for
It's-
interviews, right?
It's
Obviously ask these questions that will give you like a person's attitude, or like you can see the ability for them, like do they have the agility, so that you
exactly.
can be able to identify that. So I just want to ask you, right, have you ever, like the other version of what I asked you earlier, to say that have you ever encountered a CV that is less impressive, but actually this person in practice is impressive?
I
If I
always
can
say
put it like that.
I love being surprised. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That the CV was bad. Then you actually, then on the other side, you got this brilliant person. I think I would say yes. And let me tell you, before I actually elaborate on that, let me tell you this. So when you're working a certain way, you want to be impressed with the CV first. You know what I'm saying? Your instinct tells you, sure, it's got to be, the person's got to be good on paper. It's you get fixated on it. It's major fixation. And I struggle with that. I want to see a good TV, but I'm the same person who's telling you now that it's not good enough. It's, you want to see it so good on paper. You check that CV. No, it needs to check this. No, this. So what I've learned from that, before I come to your point, is that even when you're looking at the CV, there are certain traits you can pick about the person rather than trying to look at the skill. You can do that. Then the other side of it, actually, being surprised, I have been surprised. CV doesn't look so great on paper, but you find the person actually then do brilliant on the other side. So what they then come with is a very good attitude, or the attitude that fits the business, in the sense that, a ray of sunshine in a person is the person who actually say, you know what, I'm not so great, but their attitude is great. They want to learn, they want to improve. You know what I'm saying? When things change in the business, they're not the first to mourn about it. They don't. They said they understand that the business is actually doing so well. So you get, and I actually, if I look at one of my greatest hires, actually, if I look back, the CVs were not great. I actually, and the CVs were not great. If I look at that, I must admit the CVs were actually not great. I was saying, let's just try this. So that one you kind of go with the gut. Then actually you are pleasantly surprised. So the key now is to get that balance. To say, because you can, some CVs are bad and the person's bad. You know what I mean? So it's a double whammy. You know. So again, you can't say now I'm gonna look at the person with CV is not so good, and you find a person who's even worse than their CV. So that can also still happen.
Yeah.
So I would say that in a founder-led business or in a smaller business, or call it a small business, the traits that you need to look at is two: adaptability and attitude. Skill, yes, you need it. Some of the people you can train them, because one of the things that I learned actually with people with good attitude is that most of them actually you get them without the skill. You actually then develop them, send them to school, to university, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Because the attitude is right. They adapt. They wanna be there.
Yeah.
With you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, it's so pleasantly great to hear people who are dedicated to the same cause as you have. You know, because as a founder or when you're running your own business, you believe in your point, you believe in your vision, your direction. It's pleasant to get somebody who actually believe that they can make a difference in there. They believe that they can add value in there. They believe that these things do change. You know, I was saying yesterday in one of the conversations that when you have got employees, I think having them as your counterparts, I think it's key rather than employees, because you create this level. If they are employees, you are here, they're there. And I think that will leave a point. An employee works from 8 to 5. But a colleague or a counterpart or a partner you are working with, you are working together, there are times where 8 to 5 is not good enough. And in founder-led business, it's more often.
Expected, yeah.
You know, if you want to do an 8 to 5, there's nothing wrong with that. The corporate environment is there. You go at 8, you've got a 1 hour lunch break, 4 o'clock you go home, you go sleep. Their businesses like that, perfect, because they are mature businesses. But as founders, when you're at this point, they are more often than not where you are required to go beyond that.
Yeah.
And I'm not advocating for abusing people.
Yeah.
I'm not. But there are times where that is a requirement. And then when the attitude is wrong, the person says like, no, but why should I do it? This is not my business. Like, why should I do it? Do you understand? So that, then if you have that person, you've got a good person in the wrong job, they're in the wrong environment. They need to go in a corporate environment, which is stable. You work your 8 to 4, no questions asked. But remember, the founder that you are working with is also figuring things out. They don't have the formula, it's not complete. So there are times where they actually everybody needs to do a bit more extra. It happens. Even in corporate, I was in corporate. 18 years of my life, I was in corporate. They don't ask you to say you need to work overtime. You see for yourself. Because you go in that board meeting, then you come back pale. Your color changes. Okay?
Yeah.
They don't say to you, you need to go and work overtime. No. When you go in that board meeting, you feel naked. You will be exposed. That's the brutality of it. They don't say, no, Polana, you need to work overtime, or you need to work at 10 at night. No. The memo doesn't come, okay?
Yeah.
It takes one board meeting in corporate to realize, oh no, the hours I'm putting here is not good enough. So when we're hiring, understand the environment. Walk on the floor and say, in this business, if I add one person, are they able to deal with this? Are they able to be in this environment where it's changing like this? Are they able to actually add value in that? That when it changes, they are part and parcel of the change. When it's required that they go beyond the call of duty, they come through. You know, so that's the challenge. And I'm not saying everybody should go above and beyond. Choose your battles. Choose the environment you want to work in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you want a comfortable, stable environment, choose the environment. But there are certain businesses, even the ones that we're saying they're mature, and nothing is bond ready. Okay? That mature business, there was a founder who put in hours day and night with other people. And then they built the foundation. Remember what I said to you in one of the episodes. The vision of you that is required when you're starting a business. It's not the same version of you required when it's scaling. And hence, I always say, those who provide the spark doesn't sit long enough to sit by the fire. Because when the work effort that is required when building a business from that level, it's a lot of effort directed to very few people. Do you understand? That's why in a founder-led business, there's a lot of work to be done. It's a lot of effort required to build the foundation, but that effort is distributed among very few people because the resources haven't allowed it to be there yet, where you have all these people. So hence, that's why you see when businesses are scaling, they go and find capital to bring in the resources that are required to elevate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Eliah, we spoke a lot about attitude, right?
Yeah.
I just want to be like contrary to attitude to say like, what if obviously what's the risk of focusing on attitude? Then there's no skill, and you're convincing yourself that this person actually has the skill, but they're not there. So like, what's the risk of focusing mostly on attitude? You know?
I think what it then does to whoever is hiring, if it's a founder-led business, if you're involved in a business hands-on, it means more time. So you pay with your own time by training the person. So the attitude is good. The person doesn't mind being trained, but it means you are going to invest time in training that person. So the question you're going to ask yourself is this: what type of person am I better off with a skill or better attitude? That's a trade-off, because if the person has got a good attitude, they don't mind learning. They don't mind. They know that I'm short on skill, but then you, as the founder, you got to cover that. So you got to ask yourself as a founder when you're actually doing these interviews to say, if something goes wrong in this hire, am I willing to fill in with my own time and expertise in that? And that's where some of in this founder-led business where they want to get stuck as well, because now you're compensating for that shortfall. You see, and you got to do that because it's, growing a business, it's not for the faint-hearted. It's not easy. You as the founder need to come in and fill in that gap which has been left by your own wrong hire. And again, there's no formula for hiring. So it's a double-edged sword that you live with, but you got to make it work. Building a business is not about whining and mourning. You suck it up and get on with it. That's what you do. You look at the traits to say, and noise, and don't hire on excitement. I've done it. Okay, I've done hired on excitement. You're excited about the person, all that. All that evaporates. Then let's get back to work. So I think the other side of attitude is that they can have a very good attitude. Call it the attitude that fits the business. The skill can be a shortfall, and you gotta check. I think what type of skill are they lacking? Because there are certain skills that requires a lot of time to develop. The question is, do you have that lot of time as a business? You see?
Okay.
And if you don't, unfortunately, the business is going to suffer because of your own wrong decision. So you say, right, I'm happy with this, the attitude of this person. And then they are lacking this skill. Can I balance the two? Can they still do the job with this attitude, and this skill is not a critical skill, call it that way? Because if it is a critical skill, you can't do without. There are certain roles, let's say in a certain IT environment, there are certain roles that you need a certain expertise, a certain skill set for them to, like a programmer. You can't, I don't think that is the best way of hiring a programmer on attitude. They need to know how to program, they need to know how to code. So even if they're crap attitude, they put their earphones when they're talking to somebody. If they know how to program, let them program. So you got to look at the role and say, what makes sense? Because look at, for example, customer service role, right? A person who interacts with the customer. If they've got a bad attitude, you are in for a high jump, because you're going to lose customers because they cannot just hold themselves. You understand? So the skill there on a customer service role, on a customer interface, what is required there is actually the skill of a very great attitude. That's the skill, not a degree in customer services. It's actually the great attitude. So in some roles, the requirement of a skill is more than the requirement of an attitude. So there's no one size fits all here. So you gotta see as the hirer to say, what is it that is key in this role? What is key? Is it that they need to be a very great programmer, or is it because they need to be very good with people? So that's what you look at. Then I always say people perform best when you actually find where they're very good at. So if it's the attitude element, then focus more on that in your interview. This thing of a tick boxing exercise of this question, it I'm not so sure if it works.
So in your like 5 niches, are you saying that when you're looking for a candidate, you should obviously just tailor it according to those 5 niches that you have? Because I heard you mention SaaS and IT, which means that when you go to logistics and others, you're gonna have to tailor it. Is that what you?
Yeah. So look at SaaS and IT, a programmer. I don't think that attitude is more important than skill. Skill is key. If you do not know how to code, you don't know. Look at transport and logistics, a driver. Right? That's a trick one. Obviously, you can drive, anybody can drive. So when I look at driving, I've got my own view, which is like driving is, yes, you need to be, if you're driving a truck, you need to have a certain level of a skill there, right? You need the skill to be able to do that. But at the same time, you look at it as the attitude side is there a lot of what do you call it? A driver can have a bad attitude. They can harsh accelerate your truck. They can break the gearbox of a truck because of the attitude to work. Say like you reprimanded me here and I didn't like it. I'm gonna show it to you in a truck. You see, then they'll break the truck. You see, and you look at a manufacturing environment. We have got a line production, right? People can be malicious because the attitude is wrong. You say like you're just saying to me, I don't tolerate this attitude of you being late every day at work. We are losing production before it's your behavior. So like, no, I'm going to show you that. I will show them when you understand. So it's a human management, or it's yes, people get degrees like this, psychology and all that, but managing people, having people, it's a complex area, and I don't think that you can go and acquire a skill fully to say I'm a master of human management. Not really. And in different environments, I think I would say look at the role. Where does it lean more? Attitude and skill. Then further to that, check adaptability, because the environment doesn't stay stagnant, whether in a small or large business. Look at what COVID did in 2020. It changed life. Then there were people who were stuck to say, I will not go on Teams. Let me tell you that because they are used to working, having face-to-face meetings. But the environment changed. You can't be in close proximity with somebody. So adaptability is a key aspect. That agility for a person to say, when the environment changes, I change with it. It's a key attribute you have to be checking.
I just want to add on that to say that before I moved in Joburg, I used to work a lot with papers, like a lot of. If you go to an office, you would see like stacks of papers, invoices, and everything. And as soon as I moved there, I was like, wow, everything is actually electronically. If you need an invoice, you need everything. We don't work with papers here. I just wanted to add that on there.
Good point, because let me tell you something. That change, when you are used to a certain way of doing things, do you know that people will still read newspapers right now?
Yes. They're still there.
They still want to hold that paper and read it. The transition to a paperless environment, for us, it's actually deliberate, because the question is just going to ask yourself, what is it you're going to do with the physical invoice that you can't do it on a digital? You just want to chop another tree? That's what you want to do. Well, what are you going to do with it? So after you print it and hold it in your hands,
you do with it.
What are you going to do with it? Why can't you just save a PDF and send it? Even when it arrives, that invoice, why not just, okay, here's the invoice, process it and save it? So that ability, and I think that ability to adapt, and it can actually really be distressful. It can be so stressful making that change for an employee, where when they're processing an invoice, they want to see it there on the side and processing it on a computer. Then you say, no, you can't have it. Trust me, it can cause a lot of tension. You can say like, but this is how I've been doing things. I meant, why are you taking this away from me? So I think adaptability is, I think, what makes adaptability easier is to think this way, to say, what if I'm wrong? That's one way of helping you to be an adaptable person. What if my own thought process, the way of my ideas is wrong? Let me listen to the other side and hear what is it that they are putting forward. It helps adapting.
From all of these questions and answers that you've given me, what's the biggest lesson?
I would say that when hiring, when you're looking at your bringing on staff, I'll say three things are important: skill, attitude, and adaptability. But one outweighs the other depending on the environment. But I'm more keen on attitude. And I'm saying this: skill tells you what the person can do today, but attitude tells you what they can do tomorrow when today never exists. And in a growing business, it never is. That's what I take. So I hire for attitude and train for skill.
Thank you so much for that. I think everybody else has learned from this episode to say that we have three most important things: skill, attitude, and adaptability. And you will just obviously learn some of the things as we go with other episodes as well. Thank you so much, Eliah, for having us today.